I know that most people don't understand economics as a whole. They don't understand money as a whole, because if the people watching this, if they all understood how all this shit worked, there'd be a revolution tomorrow. So they don't understand any of it. But it's very difficult for a government to even pretend to give a shit about the average person to me, because I understand how all this works. So the government comes along and decides to give out free money. The average person in the middle or at the bottom goes, wait, free money, government cares about the poor person. Well, they don't. Let's imagine, let's keep it very simple. Let's say they gave every person in the UK £1,000. They're either going to save that money, or they're going to spend that money, or they're going to, let's say, invest that money. If they spend that money, which is what 90% of them would do, it goes to corporations, making the corporations filthy rich. The stock price of Amazon during COVID went to the moon. So everyone's sitting at home bored, just buying stuff, right? So there's less corporations than there are people. So let's say you give everyone in the UK £1,000. A lot of that money goes to one guy, Jeff Bezos. The rich get richer, just like before. Let's say they invest it. Well, they can invest it in what? The stock market? Well, that increases the share price of companies. Who owns companies? The rich people. It's always been that way. Yeah. But it's going to become worse and worse. As inflation gets out of control, then something has to change. And they don't want anything to change. So they try and keep this population subdued. As the price of assets soar, the rich are going to become richer and the poor are going to become poorer. And I'm telling them to do the opposite. I'm telling them to think. But that's the real reason they canceled me. I don't know if you know the story of Socrates. He was arrested and he was accused of corrupting the youth. That's why. He was tried for making the young military-aged men of Greece think for themselves. It's not allowed. You're not allowed. Since the dawn of human time, we're not allowed to do that. But yeah, it's going to get harder and harder. It's not going to get any easier. The government has no power to legislate money into the hands of the poor. They can take more money off the rich, or they can attempt to. Or they can attempt to take more money from the rich, but throughout the bureaucracy and the way the machine works and the corruption inside of every government, by the time let's say they take 100 million, to make it easy numbers, maybe 30 million of it might end up kind of somewhere a little bit. And then we have the same problem we discussed earlier, where the poor people just spend it, goes back to the rich people.
Yeah.
Like it's just the way the whole system's set up. The average people come to me and say, what do I do? I'm just the average guy. And my only answer is stop being the average guy. That's my only answer. You can't just be the average guy anymore. The idea from the 1950s that you can just be the normal, average, law-abiding, hard-working citizen and you'll have a good life is gone. Any man out here who goes, I'm just going to work hard, do my bit, and obey the laws, and I'll have a good life. No, you won't. No, you will not. Just doing your job is never going to make you rich, because you're just going to be taxed into infinity and you're going to stay broke. So just obeying laws and doing your job now has set you up to be a peon, a slave for eternity. You have to get yourself in a position where you're making enough money that, I'm not saying laws can be broken, but there certainly can be bent. I mean, I think you know this with accountancy and the way the tax laws work. You get to a certain level where it's like okay, yeah, we can just put that one to the side. We can twist that one around.
Arnold Schwarzenegger says, break the rules, but don't break the law.
Completely, yeah, and that's basically it, right? So you get to a certain level, and that's where it's really interesting, because the average peon, their answer to all this is, we need to tax the rich, because they don't understand how money works, and they don't understand how the world works, and they think that rich people are out here working some kind of job that you can tax. How do you tax a rich guy? How do you tax a rich man? I guess houses here, houses there, company here, company there, all the companies making a loss. Does Starbucks pay tax? No, Starbucks supposedly doesn't make money. Supposedly Uber's never made profit. An app on the phone with millions of cars around the world and people working endless hours for them and them getting a cut of it to run an app. Supposedly they never made profit, never paid a penny tax. Funny how that works. You can't tax the rich. It's too complicated. You can't tax the rich. It doesn't work. Let's look at Nike, for example. Nike doesn't pay any tax. Why does Nike not pay tax? Well, I'll give you a very simple version. They have two companies. One set up in Belize with a 1% tax rate. One set up in Europe. The one set up in Europe sells Nike trainers, pays all the staff, pays the stores, sells all the shoes, makes all the money, all of them, makes millions and millions and millions in profit. The one in Belize owns the trademark. So after 100 million, 200 million, whatever it is, comes into the European company. The European company has a debt to Belize of all the profit. Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, right.
That goes to Belize. Then Belize government comes along and goes, give us 1%. Nothing. Boom, boom, done. Taxpayer. Well, a scam. All a lie, it's all a scam. The person who get fucked, it's always the same. It's the guy in the middle.
Yeah.
The guy in the middle is going to get wrecked. It makes me laugh when they talk about, we're going to increase taxes. When they talk about increases taxes, they're not trying to chase down the billionaire on his yacht, because they can't. They're trying to chase down the guy in the dress, who can't move, can't leave, he has a mortgage debt, 2 kids and a dog, living somewhere in Sunderland, and he's stuck there. You're only free with power, and in the American political system, it's a perfect example of lobbyists and lobbying.
Yeah.
So they will lobby for things. They'll come along and say, I'll give you an example. Why are there no high-speed trains in America? America's huge and rich. High-speed trains would be fantastic for America, but the rail network is basically non-existent. The reason is because the oil companies lobby both political parties to make sure that they don't build trains, everyone drives. Long highways, it's good, sells a lot of gasoline. That's what they want. So once you get to a certain level of money, you realize you want political friends. So you're like, okay, I want this law, or I want this law to work this way. Or I just want someone I can call if this happens to me. And you just start giving a lot of money away, effectively. And you're trying to buy power, and that's the way it's always worked. That's what these huge corporations and companies do. I do think that most of the ways money is made on the planet, nearly all of them are Ponzi schemes. I think stocks are a Ponzi scheme. And when I say Ponzi, I mean that if you're in early, you make a bunch of money, and if you're in late, you get wrecked. So let's look at crypto, right? A lot of people ask me about crypto. Hey, what do you think about this coin? What do you think about this coin? Most people don't understand that the crypto market is player versus player. And it's funny because these new crypto coins launch, and they start these Telegram groups, these communities, and all the people who have bought the coin are in this community, and they're all like acting like they're friends. You're not friends. Yeah. If you bought it at $1 and you want to sell it at a profit of $10, someone has to buy it off you. So it doesn't just come from the sky. You're selling it for more than you bought it for, right? So a bunch of people get in, money comes in, price goes up and up and up and up and up and up. There's always going to be a guy who bought the top and it never goes up anymore, and he gets screwed. There's X amount of people at the top who get wrecked, so the people at the bottom can make money. Yeah. It's a Ponzi. Every crypto is a Ponzi, all of them. You understand you're living in a world where the matrix can be cracked, you can make a bunch of money, but you need to take responsibility and do it. If you want to be an architect and you have to study architecture, if you want to be a lawyer and you have to study law, that's fine. If you decide I personally never knew what job I wanted to do. These people seem to be very passionate about a particular trade. I just wanted to have a lot of money.
I think follow your passion is also a terrible piece of advice. People say, hey man, you need to find what you're passionate about and do that. And what they're trying to say is only do what you like, because you have no motivation to do anything else. And motivation in and of itself is a scam. I don't believe in motivation, I believe in discipline. I do them regardless of how I feel. Whether I'm in the mood to do it or I'm not in the mood to do it, it gets done. That's discipline. Discipline's a real thing. Motivation is fleeting. Yeah. You're never going to be permanently motivated. Yeah. Do you think the guy in China who owns a concrete plant is passionate about concrete? Do you think he's sitting there stroking it at night, naked in bed? No, it's money. Be passionate about success. If you're passionate about money, then you can be passionate about anything. I'll be passionate about any business on earth that pays me. If you pay me $1 billion to dig that hole, I'll be very passionate about that hole. I will dig that hole with passion.
And I've yet to experience in my 36 years a man or a woman who genuinely tries their very best and genuinely dedicates himself to something and is genuinely motivated to make sure they're the best version of themselves, who doesn't get what they want. I've never seen it. I've never seen someone go, I spend all of my time doing what I'm supposed to do. I do not waste any of my time. I dedicate myself. I'm good to people. I'm honest. I'm hardworking. Who doesn't have everything they want? So anyone can have anything they want. I really believe the universe will give anyone anything they want if they actually fucking want it. I mean, even me, man. Like, I made a bunch of money on the Russian ruble when I saw the way the war was going. I knew the ruble was going to go up. That's an all-time high now. But that takes perspicacity. This is also comes into network. The average person is not sitting around having conversations about the war in Ukraine and the Russian ruble and the financial impact of the war. Me and my team and my network, we're different. Like, most people see the news, they watch the news. Me and my team, we're watching the news, okay, how can that make us money? How can that make me money? How can that make me money? And it's a different attitude. I'm having endless conversations about the financial impacts of the war in Ukraine and whether we think that Russia's going to win or lose. And now the Russian ruble is at an all-time high. The Russian economy is stronger than it's ever been. On a currency to get a 3x? People don't even think about this stuff. They don't use their brain ever. They don't ever look around and realize how they're spending their money. They don't look around and look at which businesses are successful. They don't look around and pay attention to anything. They don't look at the world and all the things that are happening and how it can benefit them. None of it. They don't look at any of it. They know all about the football results.
Yeah.
They know all about that crap, all about Love Island. How do you think they view us? You think they give a shit about wrecking our currency? I've had people all the time come to me saying, yeah, I want to make money. Go take a half an hour and learn about fractional reserve banking. Learn how you don't even know how money works. You don't even know how a bank works. Like, how are you going to make something you don't know what it is? It's the cycle of precipitation, right? So a cloud comes, it rains, it falls down to the ground, it goes under the ground, whatever, it goes into a stream, it moves into the stream, goes to the ocean, evaporates again up into a cloud, floats somewhere else, falls down again. It's always moving. That's how money is. People think that money is in these large stagnant pools hidden in people's bank accounts. That's not really true. Money is constantly moving all the time. And if you can find a way to get in between it and stand in the right place at the right time, you're going to get wet. It's true. And a lot of people have done that, right? I mean, even the little example I was talking about earlier. We'll talk about network and how important that is. And people also understand that they're likely to become the sum of the 5 people they spend the most time with. That's my ecosystem. That's who I talk to. Those are my friends. We don't talk about Rihanna. We don't talk about football. We don't talk about Love Island. We don't talk about anything other than money. How are we not going to make hundreds of millions of dollars? How am I not going to have money? Like, that's all we talk about. That's all we do. When's the last time you sat and talked about it? What do you mean? When's the last time you sat down with someone and talked about money? The rules of the game are the same for both players. The constraints are the same. But the Grandmaster will destroy you within the same constraints. He can't do any moves you can't do, but he will wreck you because he knows the game better.